More and more, the legal system is telling Uber, no, you can't treat drivers like complete shite. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur. It's funny because today there was supposed to be another video going up. It was one of my little app review / entertainment things. It's going to be a little different, but then Uber has to go and do this breaking news story, and so that has been rescheduled till tomorrow. But I did put a little bit of work into it, so I please implore you guys, give it a shot at the very least. In the meantime, let's talk about what is going on. So you know that Uber has been having many legal battles. That's pretty much like saying there's air, or that the sky is blue, or that Baby It's Cold Outside is really not an offensive song and people who are getting offended by it are really taking things way too seriously, not taking things into context, and should get a life and maybe should research and do some history. I'm sorry, I have no idea where that came from, but anyway, let's continue. So anyway, in the UK, the UK drivers have been much better about pushing back on Uber than anything we're doing. They're good about striking, they're good about pushing laws, and you know what? UK's court system finally decided, you know what? They are right. Uber drivers are employees. And they didn't say this because they like the drivers better, but because they determined that based on how Uber ran the system, based on how the system was set up, how they treated us, how they controlled us, how they put the limitations on us, that we were in fact employees. We were not independent contractors, and that Uber was just using that term to avoid some legal things, like, you know, minimum wage and stuff like that. And of course, Uber vowed to appeal it as we expected they would, and the appeal has gone through. And what is the result? The result is that Uber has lost. Uber drivers are still considered employees in the UK. According to Bloomberg, Uber Technologies Inc. lost a UK lawsuit over the employment rights of its drivers in a landmark judgment that threatens to force companies in the country's burgeoning gig economy to offer benefits such as paid vacation. London's Court of Appeal dismissed a challenge Wednesday by the ride-hailing firm over a lower court ruling that found its drivers are workers, meaning that they're entitled to the minimum wage and holiday pay. It's the third time Uber has been defeated in the British lawsuit. The company will now take the case to the Supreme Court, a spokesperson said. So this is still not done. There's still a Supreme Court in England. However, it's not looking very promising that they are going to win it. Everything has suggested that the UK is simply not putting up with this nonsense. The company's drivers are under a positive obligation to be available for work while the app is on, and that's enough to class them as workers, according to a statement released to the court. Now, that's a strange thing to hinge this classification on. I'll tell you why in a moment. Judges Terrace Etherton and David Bean agreed that the drivers were workers, while Nicholas Underhill dissented. The ruling will have significant implications for approximately 45,000 Uber drivers and, more broadly, individuals engaged across the so-called gig economy, Paul Jennings, the lawyer representing the drivers who brought the suit against Uber, said in a statement. We anticipate to make substantial backdated claims. And yeah, if they win, they are entitled to them. And that will cost Uber a lot of money. Something you don't necessarily want on the books when you're trying to go public. Did anyone here watch Ron White? Never mind. The court's decision doesn't reflect most drivers' reasons for using the ride-hailing app, Uber spokeswoman said. Quote, if drivers were classified as workers, they would individually lose some of the freedom and flexibility that comes with being their own boss, and that is true, but again, we are going to discuss that. Convoluted complex. Uber had drawn up convoluted, complex, and artificial contractual arrangements that were, quote, no doubt formulated by a battery of lawyers, Etherton and Bean said in the 70-page ruling. Drivers and passengers aren't in a position to resist the language of the contracts they signed. Underhill, who said he would have allowed Uber's appeal, said in the judgment that the relationship argued for by Uber is neither unrealistic nor artificial. That's a very interesting quote. At stake is an issue at the center of the gig economy, and I'm sorry, I just realized how bad that humming is, but I can't change it. The employment status of the participants. Uber Chief Executive Officer Derek Kawashahi told reporters in October ahead of the appeals court hearing that the lawsuit covers a matter that's at the real core of the service, IPO. The case is another major battle in the UK for Kawashahi, now in his second year on the job. as Uber prepares to stage one of the largest IPOs of all time. Investors have been anxious to see him succeed on a repeat of a charm offensive taken during his first year, when in June helped win Uber a 15-month probationary license, I don't know why I was struggling in that, to keep operating in London after Transport for London, the city's transit authority, concluded that it wasn't fit and proper to hold a license. Drivers are their own boss, and their contract with the firm is essentially a licensing agreement to use the app, Uber's lawyer Dinah Ross had argued during the hearing. James Farr, one of the drivers spearheading the suit, said they shouldn't have to choose between employment rights and the flexibility that comes with work. Well, I don't know if I completely agree with that. The drivers don't claim to be employees, a category that would give them even more rights, such as parental leave. Although I'm going to say this now before we get into the main discussion. Parental leave is not a thing with an independent contractor, because if you can't work, you just don't work. That is one of the beauties. And by the way, I would argue that a real job where it's like you need parental leave and the workforce won't give you it off because they need you, that's infringing on your rights more than that. But again, there's other reasons why the UK is still right in this ruling. I'm just saying some of these arguments are kind of flawed. Christmas present. This is the perfect early Christmas present for GMB's Uber members, but this case is about to go. This case is about the wider gig economy too. Tim Roach, General Secretary of the GMB union that helped bring the original case, said in a statement, "Employers are on notice that they can't just run roughshod over working people to put more on the bottom line for their shareholders. It's the latest in a series of British judgments in favor of employment rights. UK's top court ruled in June that Pimlico Plumbers Ltd should have treated a tradesman as a worker, giving him the right to vacation pay and to sue the company. In May, the UK car service Addison Lee lost an appeal in a case over drivers' rights, and in 2017, a London employment tribunal found a cycle courier working for City Sprint UK LT was a worker." Quote, "We're now at a hat trick of judgments against Uber," Roach said. "They keep appealing and keep losing. Uber should just accept the verdict and stop trying to find loopholes that deprive people of their hard-won rights and hard-earned pay." But they won't, because for them, it's about money and it's about power. Now then, here's the thing. Here's why I believe, well, first of all, before we get there, would I personally want to stay an independent contractor? I have been very vocal in, yes, I would. People think I don't want that. No, I would definitely prefer to stay an independent contractor. I don't want to be told where I'm working. I don't want to be told when to get on. I don't want to be told this. I don't want to be told that. I don't want to be told a lot of things. But here's the thing. I do believe that under the way we are being treated, we are workers. Uber does control the rates. They control the fee. They don't even give us the information on what we're making. And it's, and never mind, they're telling us what cars we can use. They can deactivate us without, notice. There's so many reasons why they're already treating us as employees that if they are going to treat us like employees, we might as well have the rights as employees. Now, some people said, well, do you want to be a professional seller on eBay? eBay controls their fees. Yes, eBay does control the fees. And yeah, they have a certain amount of control on the platform. However, eBay doesn't control how much stuff you can list on the site, at least not after a few months. There's a trial period there. They don't control how much you can charge for the item. They don't control what shipping service you have to use. You can use any shipping service you want so long as the item gets there safely. And even with the recent PayPal and eBay split up, which used to be a huge sticking point for me, you no longer have to use PayPal. You can use other services. So no, it's not the same thing. You are just using eBay's platform and paying them the fees they require. Uber, on the other hand, puts all of these restrictions on. Oh, you want to have filtered rides on this way? Well, you can have 2 of those, and then you got to do just regular rides. Oh, you want to know where you're going? Well, you're not going to get that information. Not really. We put a little information, but like a little map, but you're going to have to guess where that is. There's so many ways that Uber controls us, and yet we are somehow still independent contractors. Really, right now, the only thing they've been able to argue is that, hey, you can get on and off the app whenever you want. And yet, I suspect that's the next thing they're going to change. So, yeah, good for the UK for standing up. Now, if Uber wants to scale back some of this control to really make sure we're independent contractors, I would be very, very happy with that. Would much more prefer that than getting the government involved. But with the way Uber's going, frankly, they're giving the government no choice. But as always, I like to know what you want to think about this. So, what do you think? Are your opinions? Do you like this, disagree? Don't like it? I'd love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even those $1 a month goes a long way to helping this channel run smoothly. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.